Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Food School Smarter, Stronger, Leaner podcast on a mission to inspire a world where food makes us better. Today is Monday, guys. It's a new week, new beginning, time to get after your goals. You know, it's this week, my 33rd birthday is coming up. And my birthdays always make me think about the things that happened during the year that passed, what I did, what went well, what didn't go, that well, what I can learn from all of this, like the main lessons I can take from, this past year of my life. And I wanted to share with you the most important lesson today because I just thought about it this morning. And I think the most important lesson of this year for me and all the lessons that I've been learning throughout my life is that I'm actually, also moving to Moscow, for example, from my parents' home, and then God knows where else my work will take me when the borders are open. So I decided to move right in my birthday because even though it's pretty comfortable to stay where I am right now and my work is going pretty well, considering the situation, and it's really convenient, the stores, my everything, just my whole routine, the park, like the making my videos and also staying with my parents, in this loving, supportive environment. It is all, and plus, I spend much less and able to save more time also. For many reasons, it's convenient here. It's comfortable. But what I realized is comfort does not bring me happiness. I need to grow. I need to contribute to my vision, to my mission in a bigger way. And I need to be there where there are more opportunities for that. And also somewhere yesterday, I heard this thought that do not shrink to the level of your comfort. Go get out there, grow, even though it's going to be uncomfortable. And what it made me realize that it actually is making me really unhappy and feeling unfulfilled, because at this moment I'm not growing that much. Also for many reasons, there are not so many opportunities in general in COVID-19 to get out there and challenge yourself among other people, right? Social distancing and all, and closed borders. But what I realized really, really clearly is comfort. It doesn't bring me fulfillment. Like, it might be, comforting, and it might be easier and stress less, but it does not bring me the fulfillment I'm seeking in life. And it doesn't bring me that feeling of meaning in my life that I'm driven by. And so I gotta get out there and start growing, start pursuing my mission, even with more intensity and determination, and just, getting out there. It's time. It's always time. Every day, it's the right time for that. But yeah, when I look back at this year of my life, my 32nd year of my life, that's, I think, the main lesson. In order for me to feel fulfilled and happy and to feel that my life has meaning, I need to grow. And it can be uncomfortable, and there can be stressful times and a lot of challenges. And I miss my family a lot, but at the end of the day, that's what brings me the most fulfillment and meaning. Working on my mission and getting after it every single day in the best possible place for that, in the best possible environment, because environment is crucially important, guys. So that being said, today, we are talking about food and nutrition and health as usual. And over the weekend, I stumbled upon an article with the link to the most recent research for 2020 and beyond dietary guidelines that going to be out, I think this year, pretty soon. And this is American Dietary Guidelines if you're tuning in from any other part of the world. And so this is the summary, and the link is going to be in the show notes. You can download it and read it for free. So this is the summary of scientific evidence, all the studies, all of course based on studies on science, at least that's the hope, not influenced by industry that much. So the science that summarizes what we found works for health when it comes to diet, nutrition, and dietary patterns. Today we'll look at the most important aspects of it, and while I'm going through it in more details, I might also get back to that later this week, but we also have a lot of other interesting and fascinating content coming up. But today, 2020's scientific studies and foundation for the dietary guidelines that are going to be out soon. So dietary patterns. The committee found consistent evidence that certain dietary pattern components are associated with beneficial outcomes for all-cause mortality, cardiovascular disease, overweight and obesity, type 2 diabetes, bone health, cancer, breast, lung, etc., and neurocognitive health. So basically what this sentence is saying is that they found that diet is related with all of these diseases. And so whether somebody, or you are suffering from, any health issues, being overweight or obesity or cardiovascular disease or diabetes or bone health or, cancer or neurocognitive problems, that it is all related to our diet. It is right there, guys, in this report. So if the government is on this, then, it is quite serious. So in this report also, they stated that according to the data that they have, 70% and more of adults are either obese or overweight, and that happens earlier in life, meaning teenage and childhood obesity. And also all of these people, they are 6 in 10 Americans would have at least one chronic disease, and 4 in 10 Americans would have at least 2. So that's, kind of scary if you think about it. And let me find the rest of it. Common characteristics of dietary patterns associated with positive health outcomes include higher intake of vegetables, fruit, legumes, or basically beans and peas, whole grains, low and non-fat dairy, lean meat and poultry, seafood, nuts, unsaturated vegetable oils, and low consumption of red processed meats, sugar-sweetened beverages and foods, and refined grains. So these are kind of the basic dietary patterns. Now, I might not personally agree with, low or non-fat stuff, especially fake stuff or industrial oils that they recommend to eat over something as natural as butter or ghee or whole dairy products. But, they do say that processed grains, meaning all the pastries, all the bread, all the cereals, all the processed stuff, sugar-sweetened foods and drinks, they are not great for us. Let's continue. Now there is a chapter, the next one is a chapter of dietary fats and seafood. And so what it says overall is that they noticed that not eating fat from a lot of processed foods, also processed meats and saturated fats in different meats, especially red meats, as it says here, they noticed this not eating that stuff, but eating instead of that more vegetables, more fruit, more legumes, more whole grain, more fish and seafood. In this report, actually, by the way, guys, they really focus on fatty fish and consumption of that on a regular basis, at least not at least, but 8 to 12 ounces per week, every week, not just 1 or 2 times, but 8 to 12 ounces a week. And the more, the better. So that is about 300 to 400 grams fatty fish. And in this report, they also say that consuming more carbohydrates, especially processed carbohydrates, instead of those other fats, or basically eating a low fat but high carb diet, doesn't really work. What matters is the dietary patterns of eating more vegetables, more fruit, more legumes, more fish, lean meat, poultry. So matters the pattern, not the fats and carb ratio. And also they specify here that fats are important and, many fats are essential, but fats, low fat diet is not a good idea. So that's what they say in this report, that also, that's a shift. It's not always that they were saying that. At some point they were saying that maybe less fat is always better, but now they changed their position. Beverages. They focus a lot in this report on sugar-sweetened beverages. They mentioned that, of course, hydration is really important, and you can hydrate yourself not just from water, but also, teas and coffee and other drinks, but make sure that you're not consuming sugar-sweetened beverages. And they specifically say in this report that sugar-sweetened beverages, they are detrimental, they're bad for our health because, one, they don't have nutrients, so basically they are empty calories, and that contributes to eating less of good stuff. And what is really disturbing is, it seems from all the data we have, that 60% of added sugars come from those sugar-sweetened beverages in adult population in US. So that means that all this added sugar come from this sugar-sweetened beverages, and they contribute no nutritional value, and you eat less of nutritional stuff, and that contributes to compromised health, to more chances to get obesity, diabetes, and being overweight, and have all these other chronic diseases. And so sugar-sweetened beverages, the less, the better. That's what they say here. Alcoholic beverages, that also was, for me, it was really pleasurable to read this. They finally say they actually reduced the amount of alcohol per day for females and males to just one drink. That is about a glass of beer. If it's hard liquor, it's probably going to be 1.5 ounces or so. If it's something like wine, probably 150 milliliters, or about 5 ounces, 4 or 5 ounces. But in this report, they specifically say the less, the better. There is no health benefits in drinking alcohol. Added sugars. So added sugar is not a great idea. And they specifically say that nearly 70% of added sugars intake comes from 5 food categories: sweetened beverages, desserts and sweet snacks, coffee and tea with the additions of those added sugars, of course, or syrups, candy and sugars, and breakfast cereals and bars. So yeah, guys, for most people, sugar doesn't just come from sugar-sweetened beverages, but also from coffees, desserts. Yeah, that's understandable. But then also breakfast cereals and bars. And that's what I notice across the board when I work with people. A lot of people eat for breakfast dessert, because all these cereals, most of them on the market, 99.9%, except for some brands, rare brands that actually, position their brand differently health-wise. So most of the breakfast cereals and all these fitness bars, quote unquote fitness, because there is nothing fitness about them, a lot of protein bars, they would have a lot of sugars, and in my perspective, as most dietitians and nutritionists, they would qualify as desserts, have nothing to do with health whatsoever. So when you are trying, if you're trying to reduce the amount of added sugars in your diet, look at those categories. Your breakfast, like, is it a dessert? Does it taste sweet? And if it doesn't have fruit and it tastes sweet, it probably has quite a lot of sugar. Then look at, of course, sugar-sweetened beverages, coffees and teas, candies and sugars, and the amount of desserts you're eating, but also, all the like pastries and breads and salad dressing. Sugar is almost everywhere. And these days, guys, when I tell people that I eat 0 added sugars, they're like, but it's everywhere. How do you eat that you are not eating added, sugars? And I read the ingredients, and most of my food doesn't come in a package. That's why I know that I'm not eating any added sugars. And if my food tastes sweet, it's probably fruit, not some snack. So just be careful. Sugar is everywhere, even in canned beans. I love canned beans, but almost all of the brands have added sugars. So I specifically look for those that don't, because sugar does not play any role, important role in preserving those vegetables. They are sterilized. So having added sugars in your beans doesn't do any good to you. Frequency of eating. A person's daily nutrient intake and overall nutritional status are determined by a complex interplay of 3 factors surrounding food choice: type of food, amount, and frequency. So they all, 3 of those are important when it comes to our nutrition, to our diet: type of food we eat, amount of it we eat, and the frequency of eating. That was also really interesting to read for me. They do not tell you guys to snack and eat all the time. In fact, what they say is the following: diet quality was higher when self-reported meal intake increased from 2 meals to 3 meals, whereas late night eating often contained food components recommended to be consumed in moderation. Despite the importance of this topic, the available evidence for many questions was insufficient to form conclusion statements, highlighting the critical need for additional research. But what they say basically is, probably you're gonna, if you are trying to eat more nutrients in your diet, switching from 2 to 3 meals is a good idea. But they also are saying that probably that's it. Eating all the time, and especially at night time, is probably not a good idea. But they say, additional research and evidence is needed. But believe me, guys, wait for the next dietary guidelines and you'll see that snacking is nowhere near there. So already it's not here. So it's probably not going to be in the future guidelines as well. What was also interesting in the report, they were trying to focus not just on specific, food groups. Nutrients are already in the past, focusing on fats, carbs, proteins. There is nothing about that in the report, and that I think is a huge shift from nutrients, isolating individual nutrients to whole foods and eating patterns and overall lifestyle. But these are dietary guidelines, so they don't talk a lot about lifestyle, but they do talk about whole foods, not nutrients. So based on the review, the current USDA food patterns are the healthy US style pattern, basically, just eating vegetables, fruit, lean, meat, fatty fish, not a lot of saturated fats from dairy and animal foods, but then also healthy vegetarian pattern and the healthy Mediterranean style pattern. Based on this review of the evidence, the committee confirmed that these food patterns represent healthy dietary patterns in that they provide the majority of energy from plant-based foods, such as vegetables, fruit, legumes, whole grains, nuts, and seeds, provide protein and fats from nutrient-rich food sources, and limit intakes of sugars, solid fats, and sodium. Now, again, on sodium, for people eating a healthy dietary pattern, I don't think you should be reducing that, because sodium as potassium are important electrolytes. that limiting too much of which can bring more bad than good. But if someone is used to eating a lot of processed food, they might be over consuming sodium over potassium and other nutrients. In summarizing the findings of dietary patterns review, the committee noted that a powerful aspect of using dietary patterns approach is that enables multiple adaptation to fill cultural pattern, individual needs and preferences in food choices. What they're basically saying in this whole, review that dietary patterns, as I just mentioned, they matter more and they can be pretty flexible as long as the whole pattern resembles a healthy one, what we know works for human beings, for people who live long without, all these non-communicative chronic and degenerative diseases. Another interesting topic that I've talked a lot about food environment and how it is important to make better choices to support our better choices, and how our food system is just not designed to support better for us choices. So they actually mention this here too. Though the committee did not review questions on topics such as the food environment, the overall food system, or strategies to support behavior change, it emphasized the importance of these topics and strongly encourages the secretaries of USDA and HHS, not really sure what that is, to examine these topics to support improved dietary intake among Americans. And so what it's basically saying, guys, so yeah, our food system, our food environment is really important to support better choices of the whole population, not just, American population or any individual. It is really important, but so far they were not able to look into that. I guess they have their heads and hands full with trying to summarize all the other dietary strategies to support our health. So the takeaway from analysis of this report is overall food pattern, overall eating style matters much more than carbohydrates, the amounts of foods, the amount of fats, or whether you, do a cheat day once in a while, or eating certain products or not. Overall pattern matters. How you eat, when you eat, what kind of foods you put on your plate most of the time. And they emphasize the importance of eating vegetables, of eating fruit, nuts and seeds, legumes. Fatty fish is focused on a lot in this report. I haven't mentioned it a lot, but it is mentioned here a lot, especially for women, pregnant, lactating, especially children till up to 24 months, and then actually for adolescents too, for teenagers too. So it's very fatty fish is emphasized a lot in this report. But again, overall food pattern, eating pattern matters much more than any, kinds of nutrients or supplements you are taking. This in the report, they actually mentioned that they noticed that supplementing does not work as well, according to all the evidence, as eating actual whole foods containing those nutrients. So overall diet pattern matters more. When it comes to fats and seafood, eat more of it, and eat good quality fats, variety of fats. Being on low fat or no fat diet is not a great idea. Sugar sweetened beverages, and alcohol, these are kind of similar. The less, the better. Also added sugars, try to reduce added sugars. And places where people get the most added sugars are sugar sweetened beverages, teas and coffees, desserts and snacks with added sugars, candies, and then breakfast cereals and bars. And in new dietary guidelines, they say that less than 6% of energy should come, if it comes, the less the better, but less than 6% of energy should come from added sugars, and that total overall. So that would mean less than about 120 calories. So less than that should come from added sugars. And again, that includes everything. Frequency of eating, 2-3 meals, probably 3 meals, what's workable for most people, to get the nutrients that you actually need, but not overeating. And it seems that, eating at night, especially, for many reasons, eating at night is not a good idea. I'm not going to go into that, but even dietary guidelines, governmental dietary guidelines for 2020 will probably include some information about that. And yeah, so overall diet matters much more. And of course, the big takeaway, guys, if you didn't know yet that, if you were not sure about that, but all the diseases, they are related to our diets. All the, non-communicative diseases, not like, virus. But even when it comes to COVID-19, all of the data supports that idea that our immune system works much, much better and has better capacity to defend ourselves from viral infections as well when we eat the diet that supports our immune system. And that diet is nutritionally dense diet consisting of a variety of vegetables, fruit, nuts and seeds, legumes, all these whole foods, plus fatty fish, plus good quality animal products that are not just sources of protein and fat, but also essential for health. Nutrients like, for example, vitamin A, zinc, iron. A lot of animal foods are much richer in those than plant foods. B vitamins, liver and B vitamins. It's like you'll have to eat a lot of plant foods to get the same amount of A and iron and B vitamins than you would get from chicken liver, for example, one of my favorite foods on earth that I'm going to be cooking today, by the way. By the way, if you want to try, liver, start with chicken liver. It has much less of, bitter taste. It's easy to cook, 15 minutes. It's done on medium to high heat with onions, the simplest way to make it. And then add whatever vegetables you like. Eat about, I would eat 8 to 10 ounces. And then you're done with liver for the rest of the week. That's how good it is. That's it, guys, for today. So we talked about my most important life lesson. We talked about dietary patterns that are going to be in dietary guidelines for 2020 and beyond. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and ask any advice, ask any tips about your dietary pattern. Maybe, you're feeling like you're a little bit off with your eating habits and you want some help with that, some advice like what to do better in your current situation, with your current goals, feel free to reach out. I'm always more than happy to help you. Share this episode with one other person who is going to be equally excited about hearing it, learning something new and changing, adjusting to grow and every day feed better self. So share this episode. Together we learn better, we remember better, we practice more, we are more motivated to change better. So together is better. And as usual, guys, stay tuned with me for the rest of the week. We're gonna have some guests on this podcast telling us how some of our food is made, and we'll talk about other fascinating stuff from the world of food, nutrition, and health. So thank you for tuning in today and stay tuned till the rest of the week. And as usual, till next time, eat better daily.